A lot. Yeah. Since I was like probably 5 or 6, and we started playing football on like a Sunday, like me and my friends, and then you join a team, the Sunday league team, and then you start watching football, and it becomes. It's in England. It's just everything when you're a kid. Yeah. I used to play quite a lot, but then as you get older, because obviously everyone's dream when you're younger is to be one of these guys, and then at a certain point you realise that these guys are incredible and you're not at that level. So, but yeah, we used to play every day at school, lunchtime, and after school we'd go to the park every day, and then we'd be in a team that would play on a Sunday, like your local village team. And then I played in the school team as well up until I was about like 16, and then you sort of stop at that point because you realise that I was alright actually, and I'm left-footed, which is quite like a rare thing, so I could always get in the team. I was left-footed, so I always used to play like a position called left wing back, which is kind of like you play that defence and attack on the left side, so you go up and down the wing.
Like focus.
So 同じ. Yeah, always up until you realise that, because when you play in like a Sunday league team, that's like what every young player starts doing when they're like 10 or something, or 8, and then you realise that by the time you get to about 12, you realise that all like scouts have been around all those games and they've already picked all the best players and said, oh, do you want to come and play for like the youth team at Arsenal or something, like another team. So you realise at about age 14 or whatever that you're so I think that like when you're really young, you're watching these people on TV and stuff, and you're like, oh, I want to be that. It's the most amazing job in the world. But then you realise that they've already got, these footballers are already picked by about like 10 or 11 in the academies and things. So you sort of, the dream is over by that time. Sometimes, yeah, my friends always play on a Wednesday night in Leicester, like in a fake pitch, like a AstroTurf pitch. So they always book a place. So that it just like if you're free that Wednesday, you play, and it's kind of like friendly kickabout, not like a serious game or anything. But yeah, it's hard because it's kind of finding the amount of people to play. I don't play for like a club or anything. But yeah, so in a friendly way, sometimes play, but yeah, more watching it is what I do now. Well, it's kind of confusing because my family, I was born in Leicester. My family's not from Leicester. My dad is from a place called Derby, which is like 1 hour north. We're big rivals of Leicester. So me and my brother used to get, we had season tickets at Derby. So we used to go every week to watch Derby. And it was really, because Derby hate Leicester. And Leicester hate Derby. So it's really confusing childhood. And my mum's from Newcastle. And so my mum's side of the family always bought me Newcastle shirts when I was young. So I liked them as well when I was about 7. So it's like a really confusing childhood, and it's like Leicester, that's where I'm from, so I support Leicester, but I go to watch Derby, and I also have a Newcastle shirt. So it's just so now like I watch Newcastle, and I still love Newcastle, and obviously Leicester is where I'm from, so I love Leicester. But it's really confusing. But I would say like Leicester and Newcastle when people ask me who my teams are, which is kind of strange because you're supposed to have one team. So people go, oh, you're an idiot for like that. But I liked Newcastle the most because they always bought me a Newcastle kit on my birthday, and I was excited about that. And we used to go to Newcastle a lot to watch the Newcastle because my family was all up there. And so it was weird. I never went to Leicester games when I was young because my parents aren't from Leicester. So yeah, only at school I would get like Leicester. But yeah, so it's just really confusing. So yeah. Well,
why was that?
It's because everyone at my school was like supporting Leicester, and it was like that was kind of why. And everyone who I played football with, everyone liked Leicester. It was only when I went home that my dad would be like, oh, Leicester, come on. And it was really confusing because like when I was really young, we went to Wembley to watch Leicester v Derby in the playoff final, which was like it's the competition to get promoted to the Premiership. So there's like, and we were in the Derby fans, and it was. Leicester won in like the last minute, and we just like rushed. My dad got us out, and we went on the train, and we were like, me and my brother were like quite happy, but it was just like confusing. Football's very confusing sometimes. But now I've got like I'm not as into Derby now because I know I'm from Leicester. So. My dad like kind of gave up a bit on football about 4 or 5 years ago. He's like, I think it was stressing him out too much because Derby were just so bad. So he just started playing golf. Yeah, so I mean, my brother lives in Canada, so he doesn't get as much chance to watch Leicester anymore, which is a shame. And he was away for the whole of this, so he sometimes gets to watch it at like 3 in the morning and over there. So it's kind of strange, yeah. In terms of like, all of my friends support Leicester, and like, so it's kind of, we don't really have as much like rivalry with Derby anymore because they're not at the same level anymore. They're in the Championship with the lower league, and Newcastle. I've had a rough few years, so it's kind of, they're starting to look a bit better now. But so yeah, it's not too bad. The family's kind of rivalry. My dad will watch it sometimes, but he's not. He's kind of, I think it was stressing him out too much, especially going to the games. He was going crazy. They're kind of like your everyday people. They're quite like, kind of yeah, it's hard to explain really. I'd consider them really like normal and regular people, and they're quite like honest people, I think. It's quite like it's like your regular English town where it's not too like posh and it's not too like dangerous or anything. It's just like the people are always quite friendly, and it's kind of, yeah, it's hard to explain really because I'm from Leicester. I'm maybe a little bit biased. I really like the style, like the humour, and I like how down to earth people are, and it's not pretentious. It's kind of interesting because I've done music. Nobody I know, like my family or friends in Leicester, knows anything to do with like music industry and things like that. And they'd always tell me, no, you should get a real job. It's that sort of attitude, which I really like because it's kind of like down to earth. And that's what Leicester is to me. Like, I like being there because of that. It's not kind of, it's not pretentious, and it's kind of a hard-working city, I'd say, which is cool. Which is why I think this was extra special as well, because the club isn't like a huge club, and it's not like they won it by buying it, which I think some teams tend to do. Like with like, so the bigger teams, like the Manchester teams, they would like spend so much money on the best players, and it's kind of like this year, like Manchester City spent so much money, and they're an amazing team, but you know that they've spent like all this money, which is, for Leicester, this team, like, it was like a kind of, it represented the city as well, because they were just all working really hard together, and it was like a team spirit that won the league rather than, you know, signing someone for 100 million or whatever. So which is why I think everyone was, other people from around the world were so like interested in it as a story, because it's just the weirdest thing that's ever happened, I think, in football.
So up until 2010, I mean, obviously you probably know Okazaki, but up until 2010 there was another Japanese player called Yuki Abe. Do you know?
I didn't really get to see much of Leicester. I've followed it, but I didn't get to see much football around that time. But yeah, Yuki Abe is, I know the player. Is he quite famous in Japan?
日本で有名ですか？
今ももう現役でもう37とか
He's
ぐらい
about 37.
Right, right,
He's
yeah.
still playing
Oh really?
in Japan.
日本で。Cool.
浦和っていうチーム強いチームでやってます
In a very strong Japanese team called Urawa.
Is they in the like the main league?
Yeah.
I can move about. Was it Iniesta? Iniesta.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, great, amazing. Well, this was the one where they actually like lifted the trophy and everything.
Yeah.
I did watch it. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
I didn't go to the actual game, but I
you
watched
saw
it.
it on TV?
I watched it on like TV and stuff. Yeah.
Where were you?
I was in Leicester because I was at home because they actually won it during was it Chelsea Tottenham game where if Tottenham lost, then Leicester won the title. So I was just watching that game at home, and then when Chelsea scored, like Hazard scored, and it was obvious that Leicester were going to win the league, I just started hearing loads of car horns going on in the distance, and then when it was full time, it was just all I could hear. And the city centre's maybe 1 mile away from where my house is. I could just hear like, and then my friends just said, "Oh, we've got to go and see what's happening," and everybody was just at the stadium. Never seen. It was like a music festival. It was crazy.
So my club is Spurs.
Oh, sorry. See my sense. It was a shame because that year was between Leicester and Spurs, and usually like I would like, if it's out of the big teams, I would like Spurs to win. If it's like Manchester's, like Arsenal and Spurs, I like Spurs because they're kind of more the underdog in those teams. But for some reason that year it was Leicester and Spurs for the two title contenders, which is strange. So. But yeah, that's a shame. It's crazy really, because it'd been going on since like Christmas, where people were, because they were in first place, Leicester, and people kept saying, nah, they'll eventually lose a few and they'll get, you know, and then we all thought that, I think, as well. Everybody in Leicester thought, this is amazing, really, like, And I think in Leicester, like people, they weren't expecting them to win, so it was kind of like relaxed atmosphere, which was good, which helped, I think. And the manager was saying, oh, you know, we'll see what happens. Whereas like the big teams, they're like, you should be winning each game, but Leicester were like, wow, this is crazy if this keeps happening. So then it was kind of like a long few months of it being like, oh, actually, they beat Man City. There was a game where they beat Man City, and I thought, oh, they actually might win the league. And then so when they actually did it, I think everyone was just like hysterical, really, because I don't think anyone knew really what to think. It's kind of like didn't really feel like it was like real in a weird way. So yeah, and it's like there's a really famous, like, do you know Gary Lineker? He's like, he's a football player. Yeah, you see that, right? Yeah. So this the guy who presents the big football TV show. He's from Leicester. He's like a massive Leicester fan. And he said at the start of this, or he said at some point, if Leicester win the league, I will present the TV show in my underwear, because he thought it never will happen, never. and he actually did it. He actually did it. So yeah, it's crazy. It's a weird year, that really weird year. It will never happen again. I guarantee you, it will never happen again. You could tell, like, I think when he started realising that Leicester might win it, he started going to the gym like all the time. I think. I think he's a fantastic player, because he's like it's strange because he hasn't. Sometimes recently they haven't played him, and I never understand that, because he's like a really energetic, like tireless player. He'll just like every single time you know that he's going to like play 100%. Whereas some of the other players, perhaps they'll drop a little bit in certain games, or they just don't look like they're as interested. But Okazaki is like, he's sort of energetic. He's always chasing everything down, and he's like good at finishing goals as well, which is sometimes they don't have a lot of players that can just get important goals in important games, which he did quite a lot of in that season, this season. So yeah, he's a fantastic player. He seems to have him, and when it was that season, it was him and Kante, who just seemed to have 200% energy somehow. Even like 80 minutes into a game, like he'd be like chasing everything and chasing every ball, and he'd be like fighting for every challenge. It's like that sort of player, which is why like him and Kante were like my two sort of favourite players that year. And Vardy obviously, but like those two more. Yeah, of course, yeah. Because like the Leicester, the sort of city, I think the fans, because it's not like they've always expected like these world-class players with Leicester. They just want people who are like really dedicated and committed. And recently they've got some players like Okazaki and like Kante was there, who are both like really good technically, but also like try as like put as much effort in as they can, which is like it like matches the city, I think, because they just not expecting players like Ronaldo and Messi. They just want people who are like committed to giving everything to the team, and like so that's why he's a really big hero, I think. Okazaki and a few of the other players that were like just really going for it that season. Although they were all pretty amazing really that season. But people like someone like Jamie Vardy, it's like it sums up what Leicester fans like, because he's chasing everything and like just quite aggressive player and stuff, and that's what they want to see. I think Leicester fans, they want to see people who are like just proper like putting it at 100% in every single minute. It's quite a painful thing though, supporting England, the country. Because like I mean in the 90s, like I can remember the first like tournament I watched was Euro '96, and England had like a really strong, great team at that point. And I feel like over watching them over the last like 20 years, it's kind of, you get really excited for things like the World Cup, and like the last World Cup, it's just so depressing because they're just fizzled out. And so yeah, I mean obviously still supporting them and still really excited for it, but this recent England team they've just picked is like, I don't think, when you look at some of the other teams around the world like Spain and Germany, you're like, I just don't think England I mean it'll take something special for them to do something. Which sounds really pessimistic, but I mean I used to get really excited and really confident about it, and they've always disappointed me. This year I feel it's quite everyone's a bit down on the England squad and the England players that we've got. I mean there's a lot of talk in England about how, because the Premiership like is such an amazing league, but it's because there's so much money in there that they buy the best players from different countries. And so there's a lot of debate about whether English young players are getting the chances in these teams, because there's so many like amazing players from like Brazil and Spain that come to the Premiership. So yeah, they do debate it a lot, whether or not actual English players are getting the same kind of care and stuff. But yeah, it's a bit of a strange squad. I was looking at the squad the other day, the England squad. It's kind of, they haven't got as many like sort of special sort of players that can win matches and anything. So it'd be interesting. I do want to go to watch a J League, KYTE. Yeah. Well, I mean, being in Japan's amazing at the moment because I'm looking forward to like writing music here.